You know, I realize that half my content so far has been just anime, but with such a wide variety of furry media out there, I would have done more than a few How Furry Visit videos on anime by now. And there's nothing inherently wrong with anime, it's just that there's not a massive amount of quote-unquote properly furry series and characters compared to the cartoons that we're familiar with. However, there is a particular type of furry content that is common in anime, the kimono mimi. Kimono mimi, which roughly translates into animal ears, is a catch-all term for anime and manga characters that possess animal features, typically ears and tails. These include your stereotypical cute cat girls, sultry fox ladies, and other similar fare. Some kimono mimi are accessorized with things like bell collars or are dressed in some sort of either cute or sexy costume, mostly for the titillation of the mostly male viewing audience. I mean, I'm not judging. Besides, there are male kimono mimi as well. However, the difference between kimono mimi and proper furries is a severe lack of fur and other bestial traits, although not every series leaves those off. In today's episode, we're getting served a chunk of delicious roasted tail meat in the 2017 anime series by Kyoto Animation, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This series follows the titular Miss Kobayashi, a stoic, sarcastic, and sensible computer programmer whose life is turned upside down by the appearance of Toru, a dragoness who arrives on her doorstep and promptly declares her lifelong loyalty and love for her. Later we find out that after one particularly rough day at the office, Kobayashi got completely hammered, wandered out into the nearby mountains and accidentally saves Toru's life, and also invited her to come home with her. Toru promptly declares she will be Kobayashi's personal maid, despite having exactly zero idea of what that role involves. Rom-com shenanigans ensue, upending Kobayashi's monotonous life as more dragons keep popping up, although Kobayashi and Toru's interactions form much of the comedy. Toru is completely ignorant of our world's culture and other societal rules, and by that I mean the ones defined by modern Japan. This is anime after all. She's also intensely devoted to Kobayashi and is essentially a walking, talking apocalypse. Dragons too OP, please nerf. On the other hand, Kobayashi is the deadpan straight woman who reacts to the antics of her maid and the other dragons. She often acts as the voice of reason to some and a maternal figure to others. It's actually really nice to see a pair of protagonists that aren't high schoolers, generic harem-only losers, or teenage saviors of some fantasy world, even discounting the anthropomorphic aspect. And the supporting cast maintains a mostly half-and-half divide between the dragons and the humans, but on the dragon side there is Kana, a young dragon that effectively gets adopted by Toru and Kobayashi early on in the series, and damn does she love to eat and do cute stuff, and basically act like a adorable kid. I've heard from some people that Kana is basically the only reason to watch the series, if nothing else. I'm not sure if I would agree, but, you know, I still love watching her. You also have the highly antisocial and gloomy Fafnir, who looks like a butler that actually did commit a murder. There's Lukoa, aka Quetzalcoatl, a somewhat big sister, emphasis on big, of a dragoness who doesn't quite get the idea of dressing modestly. And then Elma, a water worm with a Y, who is also Toru's rival. The draconic cast is mostly paired off with the human cast as well. Fafnir is paired with Takia, Kobayashi's closet otaku co-worker. Lukoa, meanwhile, lives with Shota, who is literally a young boy, but also a would-be wizard who accidentally summoned her and can't seem to get rid of her. And finally, Kana ends up befriending Saikawa, an elementary school girl whose reaction to Kana swings between nervous infatuation and giddy squealing joy. Sometimes it gets a bit awkward, but whatever. Don't think too much about it. Most of the comedy comes from the dragon cast's interaction with the world, with more than a few recurring gags. Some, like Kana promptly nomming small creatures, or Toru's overreactions and misunderstandings about how the world functions, work pretty well. Other bits, like Toru's attempts at feeding Kobayashi her own tail, or Lukoa's tendency to smother Shota with her considerable, affection can get a bit uncomfortable at times. Boob jokes, lots of them. Most of them involving Lukoa and the young boy. Like I said, uncomfortable. But at least the boob jokes are well animated. Kyoto Animation has a good track record with slice-of-life shows like these, including fan favorites such as Clannad and The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Particular attention should be paid to the animation of the various dragons in their true form, especially when Toru starts getting serious and transforms into her full draconic glory. She may spend most of her time looking like a cutesy anime cosplayer, but her real form is heavily detailed and moves pretty fluidly, come to think of it. The shift in animation certainly emphasizes the dragon's otherworldliness and intensity, and the music is also really pleasant to listen to, especially that gosh dang funky upbeat opening theme, probably one of my top favorites ever. But still, the question remains, how furry is it? Well, let's break the show down through the chance system, a handy little rubric that covers several aspects of furriness and media. Chance is an acronym that stands for caste, harmony, anthropocentrism, narrative, commonality, and expression. First, how many story-relevant furry characters are there? Our cast is made up of nearly equal parts dragon and human, even though the dragons are technically a minority within the show. Out of a score of 4, this counts as a rating of 3. Next are the scaly sweethearts in harmony with the setting. Do they belong here? Well, sort of. Dragons are mythical in the setting of the story, since the action takes place primarily in our world, that being modern-day Japan, in anime world, so technically not really our world. You get the idea. Though realistic, this puts the furries in the story on par with creatures like werewolves, earning it a rating of 1 out of 4. So how anthropocentric or human-like are the furry characters? A major point of the show's comedy comes from how different the dragons are from humans. See, it's not just limited to their horns and tails, but they also have their alien mindset and values. Plus, there's the fact that they are giant, flying, fire-breathing wizard lizards. That's fun to say. This locks this category in at a 3 out of 4. Now for narrative, or how key these furries are to the narrative of the story. I'm not sure if I would consider them the core narrative, but they do bring in the theme of bringing meaningful relationships with people outside of your own culture. And that's always a nice topic to explore. It's kind of like Zootopia Light, if Zootopia was about humans interacting with furries. Kinda wish they would do that. That gives this a 3 out of 4. Let's discuss their commonality. Are furries common outside of the main cast? Well, not really. Though there's 1 or 2 exceptions, our furry friends are confined to their central cast. Again, this story takes place in quote-unquote our world, so it makes sense that they'd be mostly non-existent outside of the core players, so this sets commonality at a rating of 1 out of 4. Finally, how is their furriness outwardly expressed? As in, how furry do they actually look? Well, this can be a common focus in anthrocentric stories. It's actually kind of downplayed here. While the show does let them play around in their full dragon forms for the sake of comedy or drama, Toru and company spend most of their time with only minimal draconic features. Horns, tails, wings, and so on. I guess it saves on the animation budget and keeps the show from devolving into a Godzilla movie, although there's more maids in this one. Still, this puts expression at a rating of 1 out of 5. If we tally up the scores, we would have a total of 12 out of a possible 24. That's not the highest score I've seen out of some other furry or anthro-based anime series, but in summary, while the adventures of Toru and Kobayashi don't exactly push the envelope in terms of furry content, I'd still say it's a good example of Kemono Mimi in action, and about as far as you can get with the medium, although there are some exceptions. Still, I think I'd like to see more from Japan in terms of anthropomorphic antics. If you're an anime fan or just enjoy lighthearted rom-coms with some, lesbian subtext, Kobayashi's Dragon Maid might be the show for you. This has been Gregor, specially cooked dragon meat reindeer with How Furry Is It? Stick around for more anthro analysis and antler antics. I just want to thank my friend Jordan. He is now a co-writer for this series. So basically he took my script, said it was crap, rewrote it, and made it sound good. If you guys like my other format better, I'll go ahead and go back to that. But if you like his wording better, then just say so. Alright, see you guys next episode.